God's law has been changed by the power of the sword. But subject and sovereign are clean different things. By what lawful authority am I brought hither? I failed to spot the wolves in sheep's clothing. Sweethearts, I bid my farewells. I embrace my destruction. A glorious death I should die, and now you'll kill your anointed king. I go from a corruptible to an incorruptible crown, where no disturbance can be. It was January 30th, 1649. Charles Stuart, King of England, Scotland, and Ireland, walked through the grand banqueting house of Whitehall Palace. The winter air outside was sharp, the sky the colour of cold steel. He passed under painted ceilings by Rubens, scenes showing his father receiving the divine right of kings from the heavens. And he stepped through a window, out onto a wooden scaffold, waiting there, an executioner, masked, anonymous. The crowd below shifted in an easy silence. They had never seen this before, no one had. Charles was never meant to wear the crown. Born the 19th of November 1600, the second son of King James, the 6th of Scotland, and of Denmark, Charles was frail from birth. His elder brother Henry was everything he was not: tall, strong, athletic, adored. But fate is a ruthless dealer. At just 18, Henry died suddenly of typhoid fever. Charles, the shy, sickly boy, was now heir to the thrones of England and Scotland. In 1625, James VI and I died, and Charles became king at the age of 24. His coronation on the 2nd of February 1626 marked the start of a reign that would reshape Britain, and end in a way no one could have imagined. Charles had one core belief that shaped everything he did: the divine right of kings. It wasn't just political theory. To him, it was sacred truth, a king ruled by God's will alone. Parliament, useful advisers, perhaps, but not his masters. This was not unusual for the time. His father believed it too. But where James had been willing to compromise, Charles was immovable, and that rigidity would cost him dearly. England in the 1620s was a religious tinderbox. A century earlier, Henry VIII had broken from the Catholic Church, founding the Church of England. Ever since, Protestants and Catholics had eyed each other with deep suspicion. Charles, as head of the Church of England, wanted a Protestant nation, but one with hierarchy, ceremony, and respect for church authority. To the Puritans, this looked far too much like Catholicism. And then came his choice of bride, Henrietta Maria of France, Catholic, foreign, and despised by many in England. She was mocked as the popish brat of France. Rumours spread that she was steering the king toward Rome. From the start, Charles's relationship with Parliament was rocky. In his first 4 years, he dissolved it 3 times. The final time, in 1629, he decided he could do without it altogether. For 11 years, he ruled alone, the personal rule, or 11 years tyranny, as critics called it. And yet, in private life, Charles could be warm and tender. He was a devoted husband, often calling Henrietta Maria my dear heart. He adored his children, even keeping a silver staff marked with their heights as they grew. But wars cost money. By 1640, foreign conflicts had drained his treasury. With no way to raise enough taxes on his own, Charles was forced, reluctantly, to recall Parliament. And the quarrels resumed. Parliament was split into 2 camps: Royalists, loyal to the king; Parliamentarians, who demanded limits on royal power. Tensions spiraled until the 22nd of August, 1642, when Charles raised his standard at Nottingham Castle. Civil war had begun. It would be the bloodiest conflict ever fought on English soil, lasting 5 years and killing over 200,000 people. At first, Charles's forces did well, but in 1644, everything changed. Oliver Cromwell rose to prominence, leading the new model army to a decisive victory at the Battle of Naseby. From then on, the Royalist cause crumbled. Charles sought allies, even negotiating with the Scots, but it ended in betrayal. He was handed over to Parliament. Moved from one stronghold to another, he eventually found himself a prisoner in his own palace at Hampton Court. In 1647, fearing assassination, he attempted a daring escape. He succeeded, briefly, but he was recaptured. And now, Parliament faced a question that had never been asked in England before. Could a king be put on trial? Most MPs thought it impossible. The king was above the law. But in December 1648, the army purged Parliament of anyone opposed to the idea. The remaining 46 MPs, the Rump Parliament, voted. On the 20th of January 1649, Charles stood trial for treason. He dressed with care, black velvet suit, lace collar, blue ribbon of the Order of the Garter. He kept his hat on, a silent statement that they should bow to him. For 3 days, he refused to enter a plea. By what power am I called hither? He demanded. He never recognized the court's authority. It didn't matter. On the 27th of January, he was found guilty. Charles had 3 days to prepare for death. He requested to see his youngest children, Elizabeth and Henry. Elizabeth sobbed uncontrollably. Charles told her she would one day forget this pain. He placed young Henry on his lap and warned him, never accept the crown from Parliament. Henry swore he'd rather die. When they were led away, Charles collapsed to the floor, inconsolable. The night before his execution, he slept for just 4 hours. At dawn, he told his attendants, "I have great work to do today." It was bitterly cold. Charles wore an extra shirt, so that no one would think he shivered from fear. At 2 p.m., he was led through the banqueting house, beneath the very paintings celebrating the divine right that had brought him here, outside. The massed execution awaited. The king addressed the small group of soldiers nearby. "I go from a corruptible to an incorruptible crown, where no disturbance can be." He tucked his hair under a cap, stretched out his arms. The signal, one swift blow, and it was done. Was it inevitable? Charles I had been unshakable in his belief that kings ruled by divine right. But in an age of rising parliamentary power, that belief set him on a collision course with history. Was his death the result of his own stubbornness, or was England fated for this bloody reckoning no matter who wore the crown? What do you think?